Now I'm going to turn to you after speaking to your dour colleague,
Right.
Ralph Winkler.
I missed that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, you did miss that. But I want to focus on the fact that once upon a time, in fact, once upon a time not too long ago, a few weeks ago, you were on the show, Europe, Europe, Europe. Every day we were talking Europe, Europe, Europe. Oh, Greece is doing this, Portugal bond spiking, blah, blah. I just looked at the front page of WSJ.com. I could not find. I'm sure down in the bottom left somewhere there's a story about Europe, but it wasn't at the top of the page. Now it's Facebook IPO and all these painters who are now multimillionaires. What happened to Europe? Has it gone away as a problem?
It's come off the front page because
Why?
Because the crisis has died down for a bit. I mean,
I see.
clearly, and as we've talked for a long time about this, if Europe goes wrong, it's a huge problem for the global financial system, and that's why people are concerned. If Europe has a slowdown or a mild recession, it's not a disaster for the US.
Right.
So it's two very different things. And I think, at some points last year, it looked like the financial system in Europe was going to spiral out of control, and that would have created mayhem across the Atlantic. So
Right.
I think we're at a point where the ECB did some backdoor quantitative easing. They lent this free money not free
banks,
money, but
directly to the
long-term
banks.
money very cheaply to the banks, who then went off and bought their local bonds, and that's pulled everything down, and it looks a lot better. I don't think it's gone away. I mean, Greece isn't solved, Portugal's not solved. This is a palliative rather than a solution, but clearly it's taken that big risk off the table for now, and the stock market loves it.
Right. Now, let me ask you a question. The 243,000 net new jobs created in January, does that signify that Europe, because that would have been on the back of all of Europe's problems, which were really at the forefront into the autumn and late autumn, does that mean that we're really not as tightly...
It's a January number. So
I understand. My point, though, is are we not as you would have thought, listening to people like you and some of my other European colleagues around here, that our economies were so tightly coupled between Europe and the US, but they're not really, are they?
Well, no, I think what we were saying, if you listened a little closer, was we were talking about the financial system being very tightly coupled, not the economy so much.
Not the economy, the financial.
So clearly, import and export between the US and Europe is significant, but it's not the be-all and end-all for the US by any means. I think the bigger issue was if Europe gets into real financial trouble and there's a banking crisis, what's that mean for the US banks? We've seen what happens globally, etc. So I just think they're two very different things.
I want to talk a little more about the US economy, but in one second, we're going to first go to the Thorold Barker fearometer.
Okay.
And as you may remember, we need a graphic for the fearometer, JR. You can't just put the words up there. You need a temperature gauge or something like that. Now, when we were on the fearometer,
dial that goes back,
I want a dial. When last time you were on, we've used the fearometer now. This will be the third time.
Well, the fearometer is where it was last time.
No. The first time it was like you were like at 8. Now you were down at around 5. Have you dropped below 5 on the Thorold fearometer when it comes to Europe?
We're where we were, a week or so
ago. Are you going to give me a 4? No.
4 or 5? Look,
4 or 5. Now you're below 5. I just want to be able to.
5.
If you're going to
stick with 5.
You're sticking with 5.
Look,
the perfect straddle for the herd on the street team. That's what I figured.
Sure.
Okay, let's turn to the U.S. economy. Are we going to get a better than expected recovery this year? Are things going to turn out better? Are we going to be having this discussion in a few months, and you're going to say, Evan, I should have listened to you? Instead of being such a fearmonger for all those months in the depths of 2011, are you going to confess to me over the next few months about the misguided ways of you and the rest of the herd on the street team?
Okay, well, again, I think we need to be clear what we're talking about here. There's the European crisis, and then there's the U.S. economy.
I asked about the U.S. economy.
Fine. So the U.S. economy
I need a quick answer.
It's clearly showing an improvement, no question. And for a long time, the U.S. economy has been poised to improve, but has had this massive overhang from trying to cure the financial system and people fearing about what Europe would do to that ability of the US financial system to cure itself. So if that goes away, clearly the economy will be released to do much better. And are you
feeling better about America?
For sure, of course.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Thorold Barker, heard on the street.